Adi-lila, we've just finished chapter 13, the advent of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kaviraj Goswami tells us that those who hear about the birth of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their future is very certain. By the blessing of the Lord himself and the blessing of Kaviraj Goswami, we can feel confident because they say so, that these things will have effect on us and help us become purified and come closer to our goal, our destination of full surrender. So the power of hearing is not to be underestimated. To hear the mantras, the beautiful poetry written by Kaviraj Goswami, and to hear the translation so that we can understand and imbibe what he's giving to us. So this is chapter 14, Lord Chaitanya's childhood pastimes. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has given a summary of this chapter in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasya. In the 14th chapter, there's a description of how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed his childhood pastimes, crawling, crying, eating dirt, and giving intelligence to his mother, favoring a Brahmin guest, riding on the shoulders of two thieves, and misleading them to his own house, and on the plea of being diseased, taking prasadam in the house of Hiranya and Jagadish on Ekadashi day. The chapter further describes how he displayed himself as a naughty boy, how when his mother fainted, he brought a coconut to her on his head, and how he joked with girls of the same age on the banks of the Ganga, how he accepted worshipful paraphernalia from Srimati Lakshmi Devi, how he sat down in a garbage pit and instructed his mother in transcendental knowledge, how he left the pit on the order of his mother, and how he dealt with his father in full affection. Okay, verse 1. Kantanchana smrite yasmin duskaram sukaram bhavet vismrite viparitam shat Sri Chaitanyam namamitam. Things that are very difficult to do become easy to execute if one somehow or other simply remembers Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if one does not remember him, even easy things become very difficult. To this Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu I offer my respectful obeisances. In his book Chaitanya-charitamrta, Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati says, one who receives a little favor from the Lord becomes so exalted that he does not care even for liberation, which is sought after by many great scholars and philosophers. Similarly, a devotee of Lord Chaitanya considers residence in the heavenly planets a will of the wisp. He surpasses the perfection of mystic yoga power because, for him, the senses are like snakes with broken fangs. A snake is a very fearful and dangerous animal because of its poison fangs, but if the fangs are broken, the appearance of a snake is no cause for fear. So these are the gifts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Hari Bhakti Vilas confirms that difficult things become easy to understand if one remembers Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and easy things become very difficult to understand if one forgets him. So Srila Prabhupada goes on to describe modern civilization in forgetting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They're progressing on the basis of false scientific theory and getting themselves more and more entangled in trying to probe into the material, how the material energy works, rather than probing into understanding how we can come back to our original position as souls. They neglect the soul, they neglect the spiritual position, and they neglect Sharanagati. So they're going off in completely the wrong direction, and the whole civilization is following them. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Prabhu, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhura Kahila E Janmalila Sutra Jasodanandana Yaiche Hoila Shachiputra. I have thus described in brief the advent of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared as the son of Mother Shachi, exactly as Krishna appeared as the son of Mother Yashoda. Narottam Das Thakur confirms this statement. Brajendra Nandanaye Sachi Sutta Hoila se, Balarama Hoila Nitai. The son of Shachi is none other than the son of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj, and Nityananda Prabhu is that same Balaram. 4. Sankshepi Kahila Janam Lila Anukrama Ebe Kahi Adi-lila Sutrera Ganana. I have already briefly spoken about the pastimes of his birth in chronological order. Now I shall give a synopsis of his childhood pastimes. Bande Chaitanya Krishnasya Adi-lila Manoharam Lokikam Apitam Isha Chestaya Bali Tantaram. Lokikam, appearing ordinary. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the childhood pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Lord Krishna himself. Although such pastimes appear exactly like those of an ordinary child, they should be understood as various pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 1. Avijananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajanato mama bhuta maheshvaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature and my supreme dominion over all that be. So they think because Krishna takes on a body that looks like ours, or appears rather in a body that looks like ours, they think that he's mundane. But actually, it's just the reverse. We have bodies that look like Krishna, and we're mundane. So even though, Prabhupada says, even though he appears as a small boy and appears to do ordinary things, these pastimes are nonetheless extraordinary because he's the personality of Godhead. Okay. 6. Balya Lilaya Age Prapura Uttana Shayana Pitamataya Dekaila Chinho Charana. In his first childhood pastimes, the Lord turned upside down while lying on his bed, and thus he showed his parents the marks on his lotus feet. Prabhupada discusses the word uttana. Lying down sometimes means standing up. 7. Grihe dui jana deki lagupada chinha tahe shobe dvaja vajra shanka chakramina. When the Lord tried to walk in his small footprints, the specific marks of Lord Vishnu were visible, namely the flag, thunderbolt, conch shell, disc, and fish. Dvaja, Vajra, Shanka, Chakra, Mina. 8. Dekiya Donhara Chitte Janmila Vishmaya Karapada Chinha Gore Napaya Nishchaya. Seeing all these marks, neither his father nor his mother could understand whose footprints they were. Thus, struck with wonder, they could not understand how those marks could be possible in their home. So they're seeing the marks of Vishnu, and because they don't consider their child to be the personality of Godhead, they're bewildered as to what's going on with these footprints that have the marks of Vishnu. So then, in the next verse, Jagannath Mishra speaks. Mishra kahe bala gopala ache shila sangha tenho murti hana gorde kela jani range. Jagannath Mishra said, certainly child Krishna is with the Shalagram Shila. Taking his childhood form, he is playing within this room. So he's thinking that their Shalagram Shila, which all Brahmins worship, is taking the form of Krishna and is playing in the room. It's not Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada goes on to say that even though it's in the shape of a stone, it's still understood to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that Personality of Godhead can take any shape that he wants. Verse 10. Se kshane jagi nimai koraya krandana ankelana shachitanre Adi-lila stana. While Mother Shachi and Jagannath Mishra were talking, child Nimai woke up and began to cry, and Mother Shachi took him on her lap and allowed him to suck her breast. 11. Stana piyaite putrera charana dekila se chinha paye deki misre bolaila. While Mother Shachi was feeding the child from her breast, she saw on his lotus feet all the marks that were visible on the floor of the room, and she called for Jagannath Mishra. Dekiya Misrera Hoila Anandita Mati Gupte Balaila Nilambara Chakravarti. When Jagannath Mishra saw the wonderful marks on the soul of his son, he became very joyful and privately called for Nilambara Chakravarti. Nilambara Chakravarti, of course, is the grandfather, the mother of Shachi Devi, or the grandfather of Mother Shachi Devi, and expert Jyotish, astrologer. 13. Chinna Deki Chakravarti Balene Hasiya Lagna Gani Purve Ami Rachiachi Likiya. When Nilambara Chakravarti saw those marks, he smilingly said, "Formerly I ascertained all this by astrological calculation and noted it in writing. Bhatrisha Lakshana Mahaparusha Bhushana Shishu Ange Deki Sesaba Lakshana." There are 32 bodily marks that symptomize a great personality, and I see all these marks on the body of this child. Pancha Dirga Pancha Shukshma Sapta Rakta Sad Unata 3 Hrasva Pritu Gambiro Dvatishma Lakshano Mahan. There are 32 bodily symptoms of a great personality. 5 of his bodily parts are large, 5 fine, 7 reddish, 6 raised, 3 small, 3 broad, and 3 grave. So Prabhupada goes ahead to give the breakdown, and I'll read it. The 5 large parts are the nose, arms, chin, eyes, and knees. The 5 fine parts are the skin, fingertips, teeth, hair on the body, and hair on the head. The 7 reddish parts are the eyes, soles, palms, palate, nails, and upper and lower lips. The 6 raised parts are the chest, shoulders, nails, nose, waist, and mouth. The 3 small parts are the neck, thighs, and male organ. The 3 broad parts are the waist, forehead, and chest. The 3 grave parts are the navel, voice, and existence. Okay. Although these are the 32 symptoms of a great personality, altogether, these are 32 symptoms of a great personality. This is a quotation from the Samudrika. 16. Narayanera Chinna Yukta Srihasta Charana Shishu Sarva Loke Karive Tarana. This baby has all the symptoms of Lord Narayan on his palms and soles. He will be able to deliver all the 3 worlds. Takoribe Vaishnava Dharmera Prachara Iha Hoite Habe Dui Kulera Nishtara. The child will preach the Vaishnava cult and deliver both his maternal and paternal families. When a Vaishnava is born, he delivers his maternal and paternal families simultaneously. Mahotsava kara sababolaha brahmana ajidina bala koriba namo karana. I propose to perform a name-giving ceremony. We should observe a festival and call for the Brahmins because today is very auspicious. It is a Vedic principle to observe a festival in connection with Narayan and Brahmins. Giving a child a particular name is among the purificatory processes known as Dashavidha Samskara. On the day of such ceremony, one should observe a festival by worshipping Narayan, distributing prasadam, chiefly among the Brahmins. So Nilambar Chakravarti Sachimatra and Jagannath Misra understood from his lotus feet that he was Narayan himself, so they decided to give a festival. And Prabhupada goes on to say that those bogus people who declare themselves Narayan or declare others as Narayan, like the Ramakrishna mission will say the poor people in the street are Daridra Narayan. They're actually Narayan, but they don't know it. So we have to worship them and help them. But here, Srila Prabhupada tells us, if you're actually Narayan, you have the marks on your feet and your hands. Conch shell, disc, all these different things are there on your feet, right there. That's how you prove Narayan. So if someone claims they're Narayan and they don't have marks on the feet, they're bogus. Yeah, so incarnation of God is God from the beginning of his life, and he doesn't suddenly become God. Such false incarnations are meant for fools and rascals and not sane men. 19. Sarva lokera koriva ihan dharana poshana visumbara nama ihara eta karana. In the future, this child will protect and maintain all the world. For this reason, he is to be called Vishwambara. Chaitanya Bhagavat confirms that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his birth, has made the whole world peaceful, as in the path Narayan protected the earth in his incarnation as Vigraha. So that protection is manifesting as the Sankirtan movement. All over the world, the protection is coming. The name Vishwambara is also mentioned in the Atharva Veda Samhita. Vishwambara Vishvena Mahabharasa Pahiswaha. It's Prabhupada's purport. 20. Shuni Shachi Mishrera Mane Ananda Adi-lila Brahmana Brahmani Anima Hotsava Koila. After hearing Nilambara Chakravarti's prediction, Shachi Mata and Jagannath Misra observed the name-giving festival in great joy, inviting all the Brahmins and their wives. Birthday festivals, marriage festivals, name-giving festivals, festivals marking the beginning of education are meant to be celebrated by inviting Brahmins and feeding them, chanting the Vedic mantras and the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. 21. Tabe kata dine prabhura janu chankramana nana chamatkara tata korela darshana. After some days, the Lord began to crawl on his knees, and he caused various wonderful things to be seen. Chaitanya Bhagavat describes one day while the Lord was crawling on his knees, the bells on his waist ringing very sweetly, a snake came out to crawl in the yard of the Lord, who captured the snake like a curious child. Immediately the snake coiled over him. The Lord as a child then rested on the snake, and after some time the snake went away, leaving the Lord aside. Chaitanya Bhagavat story inserted here. As Kaviraj Goswami tells us, he's not going to repeat the stories that Vrindavan Das has recited in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So Prabhupada is just giving us a little touch of Chaitanya Bhagavat as it would be fitted into this line of discussion. 22. Kranderera chali balaiya hodinama nari sabha hari bale hasi goradhama. The Lord caused all the ladies to chant the holy names of Hare Krishna Mahamantra on the plea of his crying, and while they chanted, the Lord would smile. Prabhupada describes the Chaitanya Bhagavat, this pastime. So they figured out that all they had to do was chant the Maha Mantra and the Lord would not cry. These are all the ladies that were visiting. So in this way, they all joined the Sankirtan movement 24 hours a day. 23. Tabe kata dine koila pada chankramana shishugane mili koila vivida kelana. After some days, the Lord began to move his legs and walk. He mixed with the other children and exhibited various sports. Kelana, sports. Ekadina shachi kai sandesha aniya bhatabari dia baila kauta basiya. One day, while the Lord was enjoying his playful sports with the other little children, Mother Shachi brought a dish filled with fused rice and sweetmeats and asked the child to sit down and eat them. Eta bali gela shachi grihe karma korite lukana lagila shishu mritaka koite. But when she returned to her household duties, the child hid from his mother and began to eat dirt. Deki shachi dana dila kori haya haya mata kade lana kahe mati kena kaya. Seeing this, Mother Shachi returned and exclaimed, "What is this? What is this?" She snatched the dirt from the hands of the Lord and inquired why he was eating. Kandiya balena shishu kena kararosha tumi mati kaite dile mora kiba dosha. Crying, the child inquired from his mother, "Why are you angry? You have already given me dirt to eat. What is my fault?" Dosha, fault. Kai sandesha ana yateka matira vikara ehomati sehamati ki beda vichara. Fused rice, sweetmeats, and all other edibles are but transformations of dirt. This is dirt, that is dirt. Please consider what is the difference between them. Mati, deha mati, bhaksha, deha havichari, avichari deha dosha, ki balite pari. This body is a transformation of dirt, and the edibles are also transformations of dirt. Please reflect upon this. You are blaming me without consideration. What can I say? Prabhupada says, this is an explanation of the Mayavadi philosophy, which takes everything to be one. And they think devotional activities are by nature performed on the bodily platform. They're not actually spiritual because you can't have any individual action and be spiritual. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, Mam cha yo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityanan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Anyone who engages in spiritual devotional service without motivation, rendering such service for the satisfaction of the Lord, is elevated immediately to the spiritual platform, and all his activities are spiritual. Brahma Bhuyaya refers to Brahman, spiritual activities. Although Mayavadi philosophers are very eager to merge into the Brahman effulgence, they have no Brahman activities. Lacking the varieties of spiritual activity, they cannot stay for long on the platform of simply studying Vedanta or Sankhya philosophy. Life is meant for varieties of enjoyment. The living entity is by nature of an enjoying spirit, as stated in the Vedanta Sutra. Anandamayo Vyasat. In devotional service, activities are variegated and full of enjoyment, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.2. All devotional activities are easy to perform, sukham kartum, and are eternal and spiritual, avyayam. Since Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand this, they take it for granted that a devotee's activities, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, etc., are all material and therefore Maya. They also consider Krishna's advent in the universe to be Maya. Therefore, because they consider everything Maya, they are known as Mayavadis. Anyway, activities performed for the satisfaction of the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master are necessary. But one who disregards the order of the spiritual master is by taking the actions to be Maya, the actions that following the order of the spiritual master, taking it to be Maya, he's a nonsense. So Prabhupada goes on to say that if the spiritual master is pleased, we should understand everything about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if he's not pleased, we won't be able to understand anything. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms this. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya aprasadat nagati kutopi. So, while saying everything is Maya, the Mayavadi philosopher loses the opportunity of devotional service, and therefore his life is doomed. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore advised, Mayavadi bhasha shunile hoya sarva nasha. If one accepts Mayavadi philosophy, his advancement is doomed forever. Like that lady at the program the other night saying she's God, and Maharaj said, if you're God, you grow 1 foot. And she said, if I really want to, I can grow a foot. Turn yourself purple. Yes, if I want to, I can turn myself purple. And then I added, what I say to them is, all right, here and now for 2 months, no passing stool. Let's see you do that. I don't want to. It's not my lila. That's how you get them. I've done that before. If you can control nature in that way, very good. I'll bow down to you. 30. Anantari Vismita Shachi Balila Tahare Mati Kaite Jnana Yoga Ke Shikala Torde. Astonished, the child was speaking Mayavada philosophy. Mother Shachi replied, who's taught you this philosophical speculation that justifies eating dirt? Okay. Now, Sachimata's reply, 31. Matira vikara ana koila deha pushti hoya, mati koila roga hoya deha yaya kshaya. Replying to the Mayavadi idea of the child philosopher, Mother Shachi said, my dear boy, if we eat earth transformed into grain, our body is nourished and it becomes strong. But if we eat dirt in its crude state, the body becomes diseased instead of nourished, and thus it is destroyed. Mati ravikara gate pani bhari ani, mati pinde dhari yabe, shoshiyaya pani. Pani, water. Bengali it's also jal. Pani is also Hindi. In a water pot, which is a transformation of dirt, I can bring water very easily. But if I poured water on a lump of dirt, that lump would soak up the water and my labor would be useless. So this simple philosophy propounded by Sachi-Maharaj can defeat the Mayavadi philosophers. Prabhupada goes on to say how sometimes people mix up the idea of matter and spirit, and they decide that matter and spirit are the same. There's some kind of spiritual, so-called spiritual energy that pervades the universe, but it's ultimately part of the material universe. So they are confused in this way, and they can't get the ultimate goal of life because of this confusion. Something like shamans who believe that everything is a product of the material energy, and there's collective energy that's also material, but higher and more subtle. And they perceive it like that there's nothing beyond, it's controlling. Okay. Atma lukaite prabhu balila tahare age kena iha mata nasikale morde. The Lord replied to his mother, "Why did you conceal self-realization by not teaching me this practical philosophy in the beginning?" Srila Prabhupada says that from the beginning of life, one should be taught Vaishnava philosophy of duality or variety, and then the monistic philosophy will not bother them very much. In reality, everything is an emanation from the Supreme Source. Janma Dyasya Dyataha. The original energy is exhibited in varieties, exactly as sunshine, originally emanating from the sun, exhibits itself as sunlight. 34. Ebe se janilan ara mata na kaiba, shuddha labe yabe tabe tomara stana piba. Now that I can understand this philosophy, no more shall I eat dirt. Whenever I'm hungry, I shall suck your breast and drink your breast milk. 35. Etabali jananira kolite chadia, stanapana kore prabhu isat hasaiya. After saying this, the Lord smiled slightly, climbed on the lap of his mother, and sucked her breast. E mate nana chale aishvarya dekaya, balya bhava prakatiya paschat lukaya. Thus, under various excuses, the Lord exhibited his opulences as much as possible in his childhood, and later, after exhibiting such opulences, he hid himself. So later, after showing so much opulence and power in his childhood, showing himself as the personality of Godhead, later he covered himself in the form of a devotee. And sometimes would admit that he's the Lord, sometimes not. Atiti viprera ana koila tina bara, pache gupte se vipra korila nishtara. On one occasion, the Lord ate the food of a Brahmin guest 3 times, and later, in confidence, the Lord delivered the Brahmin from material engagement. And Prabhupada tells the story of Mahaprabhu stealing the food 3 times from the Brahmin, finally revealing himself as Lord Vishnu to the Brahmin and blessing the Brahmin, and then letting the Brahmin cook his rice. Pastime is very elaborately explained in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Kanda. 38. Korelana gela prabhuke bihar bahire paiya, tara skande chadi aila, tare bulaiya. In his childhood, the Lord was taken away by 2 thieves outside his home. The Lord, however, got up on the shoulders of the thieves, and while they were thinking they were safely carrying the child to rob his ornaments, the Lord misled them, and thus instead of going to their homes, the thieves came back to the home of Jagannath Mishra. So we used to do this as a play. It was quite cool. The Lord with so much jewels and opulence, and the thieves are certain that they're going to get it from this little kid. But he bewilders them and makes them bring him back directly to the house of Jagannath Mishra. And then some of the people in the house see the thieves, and the thieves panic and drop the child and run away. Mother Sachi, who was in great anxiety, became very satisfied when Mahaprabhu returned. And this incident is very elaborately explained in the Adi Kanda of Chaitanya Bhagavat. 39. Vyadi chale jagadisha hiranya sadane Vishnu naivedya koila ekadashi dine. Pretending to be sick, the Lord asked some food from the house of Hiranya and Jagadish on Ekadashi day. Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Kanda, chapter 6, fully describes the Lord's accepting Vishnu Prasadam on Ekadashi day at the house of Jagadish and Hiranya. So Mahaprabhu pleads that he's sick and asks his father to go to get the Vishnu Prasadam from the house of Jagadish and Hiranya. So Jagadish and Hiranya were astounded when they heard that Mahaprabhu wants the prasadam. But they were also shocked that he knew in that house they were preparing Vishnu prasadam. No one knew that. So they concluded he must have some kind of mystical power, so we better go along with his wishes. So the Vishnu prasadam was sent to Nimai. Nimai ate it. He was cured, and then he distributed the prasadam among his playmates on Ekadasi day. 40. Shishu Shaba Lai Padasira Gare Churi Kore Dravya Kaya Mare Balak Kare. As usual for small children, he learned to play, and with his playmates, he went to the house of neighboring friends, stealing their edibles and eating them. Sometimes the children fought amongst themselves. Shishu Saba Sachi Stane Koila Nivedana Shuni Shachi Putre Kichu Dila Olahana Olahana, chastisement or rebuke. All the children lodged complaints with Shachimata about the Lord's fighting with them and stealing from the neighbors' houses. Therefore, sometimes she used to chastise or rebuke her son. This is her rebuke. Kene churikara, kene marara shishura, kene party gari yaha, kibanahi gare. Shachimata said, why do you steal others' things? Why do you beat other children? And why do you go inside others' houses? What do you not have in your own house? So Vedanta Sutra tells us that everything exists within the material world necessary for maintenance, and there's no need for people to steal or things. But as a child, Krishna breaks this law and engages in the fun of stealing and beating his friends. Therefore, we should understand that in the spiritual world, all kinds of activities exist, but there's no inebriety, whereas in the material world, all activities are full of miserable conditions. So again, this is Mahaprabhu engaging in pastimes that appear like the pastimes of little children, But the pastimes of little children are covered by the covering of ego, and they're all fall short of the experience of Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So they're very cute and attractive, no doubt. But that gives us indication of how wonderful Mahaprabhu's pastimes must be. If kids in this world are so cool, then what can Mahaprabhu be? It must be unbelievable. And we can kind of just sense it by hearing the stories and hearing the sounds of the Bengali poetry written by Kaviraj Goswami. Shuni Krudahana Prabhu Gara Bitarayana Garayata Banda Chila Pelila Bangia. Thus rebuked by his mother, the Lord would go in anger to a room and break all the pots within it. Tabe shache kole kori karaila shantosha lajita hoila prabhu jani nija dosha. Then Shachimata would take her son on her lap and pacify him, and the Lord would be very much ashamed, admitting his faults. Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi-lila, chapter 3, the Lord used to steal eatables from the houses of neighboring friends. Some houses he would steal milk and drink it. Otherwise he would eat prepared rice. Sometimes he would break cooking pots. There was nothing to eat, but there were small babies. The Lord would tease the babies and make them cry. Sometimes a neighbor would complain to Shachimata, my child is very small, but your child puts water in his ears and makes him cry. So really rascal. I told you guys that story about Sudarshan when he came in to see Srila Prabhupada when he was maybe 1.5 to first he came in and said, Banod. Prabhupada said he knows Bhakti Vinod. And then he moved over to Prabhupada's desk and started knocking things over. And Sri Lanka grabbed him and he started screaming and fighting, and she had to drag him out. And Prabhupada looked at me and said, you can tell he is very intelligent. I said, Prabhupada? Because he is a big rascal. So Mahaprabhu is exhibiting his pastime as a big rascal. And through that we can understand, through the actions of Mahaprabhu as a child, we can understand how Srila Prabhupada said something like that. Shunikrudahana Prabhu Gara Bitarayana Garayata Banda Chila Pelila Bangia. Oh, I already read that. Go in the room and break pots. Okay. Kabu Mridu Haste Koila Mata Ke Tardana Mata Ke Murchita Deki Korea Krandana. Once the child, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, chastised his mother with his soft hand, and his mother pretended to faint. Seeing this, the Lord began to cry. Marigana kahe, narikela dehi ani tabishushta hayubena tomara janani. The neighboring ladies told him, dear child, please bring a coconut from somewhere, and your mother will be cured. Bahire yana anilena dui narikela dekiya apurva hoila vishmita sakala. He then went outside the house and immediately brought 2 coconuts. All the ladies were astonished to see such wonderful activities. Kabu shishu sange snana korila gangate kanyagana aila taha devata pujite. Sometimes the Lord would go with other children to bathe in the Ganga, and the neighboring girls would also come there to worship various demigods. Small girls 10 to 12 would go to the bank of the Ganga to take their bath and especially worship Lord Shiva to get good husbands in the future. They especially wanted a husband like Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva is very peaceful and at the same time the most powerful. Worship Lord Shiva, especially in the months of Vaishakhi, April, May. take a bath in the Ganga is a great pleasure for everyone, not only adults, but for children also. Ganga snana kore puja kore te lagila, kanyagana madhe prabhu asaiya basila. When the girls engaged in worshiping the different demigods, after bathing in the Ganga, the young Lord would come there and sit down among them. Kanyagana, the girls. Basila, sit down. Okay. Kanyare kahe, ama puja ame diba vara, Ganga Durga Dasa, Dasimora Mahesha Kinkara. Addressing the girls, the Lord would say, worship me and I shall give you good husbands and good benedictions. The Ganga and Goddess Durga are my maidservants. What to speak of other demigods? Even Lord Shiva is my servant. And Prabhupada goes on to say, there's a misconception amongst Hindus and other religions that there's many gods in Hinduism. But he explains there's demigods who are administrators of the universe under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there's not many gods. There's one God, and there's multiple servants under him that are executing the business of running the universe. And the Bhagavad Gita condemns such demigod worship separate from Krishna for personal gain, personal motivation. That's why you go to the demigods, if you want personal gain. Karmaistastar hrita jnana prapadyante nyadevata tang tang niyamang astaya prakritya niyata swaya. Only persons whose intelligence is lost, who are mad with lusty desires, worship the demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own nature. Then Prabhupada quotes another verse where it says that people who are free from sinful activity have no motivation personally and want to serve the personality of Godhead with determination. They receive that result that they want. Sometimes people in India condemn the Krishna consciousness movement because we don't worship demigods. The Prabhupada says, how can we go against what the Bhagavad Gita tells us? To understand who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and how we can worship Him. Not allowing worship of many hundreds of demigods was confirmed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even in his childhood. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in this connection, Anya Devas Raya Nai Tomara Kahini Bai, A Bhakti Parama Karana. I don't remember where that song's from, but that verse is from. To become a staunch, pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without deviation, Ananya Bhak, one should not divert his attention to the worship of the demigods. Such control is a symptom of pure devotional service. We'll finish this page. Apani chandana pari parena pulamala naivedaya kardiya kana sandesha chala kala. Without the permission of the girls, the Lord would take the sandalwood pulp and smear it on his own body, put the flower garlands on his neck, and snatch and eat all the offerings of sweet meats, rice, and bananas. So he would snatch all these. They're doing worship according to the system that's been passed down for many, many hundreds of years, and Mahaprabhu just broke in and took everything. This worship of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Tisha Krishnam Sangopangastra Parashadam Yagyaik Sankirtana Prayar Yajanti Hi Sumedasaha. One should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appears in this age of Kali with his associates as the Panchatattva, the Lord himself and his associates, Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Advaita Prabhu, Sri Gadadhar Pandit, and Sri Srivas Thakur. In this age, an intelligent person worships the Panchatattva by method of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and, if possible, distributing prasadam. So Prabhupada goes on to say the Krishna consciousness movement does just that. Chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, distributing prasadam. 52. Krodhe kanyagana kahe shunahi nimani grama sambande how tumi amasabara bhai. All the girls became very angry at the Lord for this behavior. Dear Nimai, they told him, you are just like our brother in our village relationship. Amasabakara pakshe ihakarite na yuyaya na laha devata saja nakara anyaya. Therefore, it does not behoove you to act like this. Don't take our paraphernalia for worship of the demigods. Don't create a disturbance in this way. I'll just read one more, it's funny. 54. Prabhu kahe Toma sabake dila e vara tomarasa bhara bharta habe parama sundara. The Lord replied, my dear sisters, I give you the benediction that your husbands will be very handsome. Okay, one more. Pandita vidagda yuva dana nyavana sata putra habe chirayu matimana. They will be learned, clever, and young, and possess abundant wealth and rice. Not only that, but you will each have 7 sons who will live long lives and be very intelligent. And Prabhupada goes on to say, generally this is what these young girls are looking for. Mahaprabhu gives them exactly that. Wealth is possessed in grain, cows, and bulls. A girl wants many children who are intelligent and long-lived. Okay. Mahaprabhu. Okay.